It's that time of year. It's time for Giant Monster Month. There's really nothing cooler than seeing homage in a movie. Well, normally this means seeing a movie character watching another movie on screen or playing with a toy. Sometimes whole movie plots get lifted without it being a sequel or a ripoff. Them is a perfect example of this. If you've seen Them, you probably already know what I'm talking about, but for the rest of you, let me describe a plotline. A team of armed professionals find a mute girl in a state of shock who apparently survived a traumatic experience with an unknown force that destroyed her home. The group is separated, and the monsters return to pick off some unlucky members, while the survivors learn how to combat the swarm of enemies threatening them. At the end, a battle between our protagonist and the enemy queen ensues. If you're very smart and have read the title of this video, you may have guessed Them, in which case, you're right. But maybe if I had started the video without such a blatant introduction, you would be thinking of James Cameron's classic, Aliens. When I first saw Them and saw these similarities, I felt proud and learned to be watching the inspiration for one of the best sci-fi movies of all time. For those of you concerned that Them is just a low-budget black and white rendition of Aliens, fret not. The story starts to branch off towards the second act. First of all, there are no aliens, just ants. Yep, in keeping with our theme of radioactive bad guys, Them features normal ants blown way out of proportion by nuclear tests in New Mexico. The ants are forced out of their nest early on by our heroes, causing the queen ant to flee across the United States. One queen assaults a freighter and attempts to reproduce before the Coast Guard destroys the ship. The remaining queen finds her way to Los Angeles, where she hides in the sewers and creates an ant army. The army storms the sewers, and after several close calls, is able to break through the ants' defenses and kill the queen with flamethrowers. Many people give Them a lot of credit despite the fact that it is very similar to other monster movies of the 50s. Them isn't even the only giant ant movie to come out of this fad. With so many movies featuring giant ants, spiders, grasshoppers, scorpions, and others, why is Them remembered as the cream of the crop? Well, for one, Them seems to be slightly more genuine than its counterparts. Far from the ultra-cheap look and feel of many of the 50s cash-grab monster flicks, Them was supposed to follow up The Beast from 20,000 Fathoms as a theatrical spectacle. Also, in 1954, giant monster movies were still fresh and exciting. As far as monsters go, giant ants are pretty reserved. The unnamed uniformity of the soldier ants resembles a hostile invading force coupled with our own fear of the atomic bomb, making Them a good representation of what was horrifying to audiences in the 1950s. Whether you're a fan of Alien or just a fan of giant monsters, Them is worth a watch.